All right, red lights popping on. Hopefully, we're live. What is happening, Fish and friends? Welcome to another Saturday Night Live. I did have to pin this one because I got quite a chuckle from it. Nick said, "Live from Iowa, it's Saturday night."
What the heck?
I like it, but we should have a fun time tonight because, of course, we got the Dizzle, Mr. Rain Dizzle. How you doing up there?
Living the snowy dream, which is always fun when you have your rear-wheel drive Mustang instead of your four-wheel drive truck.
I don't feel sorry for you. We don't have any snow out here in Iowa. That's what you get for moving out to Nebraska. And we got a special guest. Brennan and I talked about this a while back. I actually thought I had Do It and Brennan on before, but I haven't. So that's my bad. Mr. Brennan Chapman, what's up, dude?
I'm just living the dream here in Iowa. It's a beautiful night.
I hear you. Funny thing is, so he's at the Do It headquarters right now. He's about an hour and 20 or hour 30 from where I'm at here. So it's pretty cool. I've been, if you watch the old videos, a couple of years back, I got to go up and tour the itMolds place. Super cool to be able to work with a company that's right here in Iowa. So that's why I'm excited to have you on, man. We're kind of close here.
We are certainly. There's not a lot of us Iowegians, so we gotta stick together.
There's not a ton of I wouldn't say it's of course not a trophy bass fishing state, but from other people being on our stream and just talking through other places, we've actually got a pretty decent amount of fisheries within like an hour and a half of us. We've got the Mississippi, we've got McBride here, we've got Palo, we've got quite a few of places that are pretty good. At least we can get out and try different stuff. It's not just like all super deep mountain reservoirs or one river is all you have. Or
yeah, for sure. I mean, we're pretty diverse. Like, I think we're pretty fortunate in that regard. Like, we have pretty diverse fisheries. It could be much worse, right?
Yes.
I was down in Texas in November fishing with a buddy of mine, and we were catching 6-pounders, 5-pounders at will, and catching, trying to catch teeners, right? And
wait, hold on, let's back up. Where was this at?
This was in Texas. This was in East Texas in November. I got one that I don't even remember exactly what it weighed, but it was a high 9.
Wow.
And we were talking, right? Like, we're catching giants, and like by his standards, like it's a decent day, but it's not that great. And he's from Nebraska, and has fished a lot in Iowa lakes. And we were having a conversation while catching giants about like how Iowa's really not that bad. Like, Iowa, in the grand scheme of things, is actually a pretty decent state to fish.
Yeah, not a ton of trophy fish, but at least we have a diverse, like you said, a bunch of different places we can go. We can see grass lakes, we can see, really deep clear water reservoir places. We've got, the river, so
for sure,
not too bad. Could definitely be worse.
Absolutely.
But Brennan, so we're gonna start it out. How did you get started at Do It? Kind of what do you do there? Give us your elevator speech of Brennan.
Yeah, so gosh, it's unfortunately the story of how I got started here isn't really an elevator story, but to condense it down, had a connection, had a roommate actually that stayed in close with his natural resources instructor down at a community college. Just so happens that Do It at the time was looking for like a CNC machine intern, right? That instructor for the CNC program commuted with the natural resources guy, told my roommate that they're looking for a CNC machinist at this fishing place in Iowa. And I'm like, I don't do CNC work, but I called them up and actually got a job here about 6 years ago, starting off in sort of a customer service role. With some other tasks mixed in, just to kind of get my feet under me, understand the business, understand the product, understand the customer, and then kind of graduated, evolved over time into what I do now, which is product manager. So wear a lot of hats, that's for sure. So, I do like our purchasing, have my hands in a lot of the marketing that goes on. I manage our new product development process, which is like what I'm most passionate about, is designing stuff, building stuff for fishing. So that's kind of the gist of what I do on any given day. I guess it's a lot, but it's fun at the same time because you get to experience a number of different things. So.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. So, like I said, I've been up there to kind of visit you, and yeah, you do a bunch of different stuff, which I think would be fun in the industry because you're not just, you're not just ordering, you're not just, supply chain. You've got your hands in product development. You've got your hands in, working with the different companies that does stuff, which I think is cool. It's kind of way my day job is. Of course, it's not as fun as fishing stuff, but at least I do different stuff every day. So it's not like. And I'm not knocking anybody that does, if you do production or anything like that. It's just I think my brain would kind of go crazy. So even though it's insane some days, at least I'm doing different stuff. So I kind of like that.
That's how my brain works as well.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with, like my dad, he would rather just have one thing that he can focus on, do it good. It's kind of everybody's different. So now with Do It, what do you have? So we had some new stuff come out, of course, like the Katana Craw, the Bushi Beetle. Do you have anything cool on the horizon coming out without giving too much information?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. Most of the cool stuff is going to be released at ICAST in July.
Okay. Yep.
So we have, actually got a list somewhat ready here. We have 8 new products right now. Definitely 6 of them are going to be released at ICAST. And then on top of that, here within the month of March coming up, we're going to have a number of new products being released as well. So during that Bassmaster Classic time frame, keep an eye out because we're going to have a couple new products launching that I can't say anything yet, but
okay. Yeah. I didn't know how far you could get into all that, but I do have to real quickly thank Mr. Tom Gross. So Tom Gross is a subscribed fishing friend. The joke every live stream is, so Stubby gets passionate with his pillow when I'm on live streams because he gets upset about it. And this is just like a little house pillow. Tom Gross, I have to give him a shout out, actually sent a dog bed for Stubby to lay on back there while I'm on the lives. And he has partaken in laying on it. That's the type of awesome subscribe feature for that. I went to the post office and it's got this slip, the little letter in there in my PO box. And the guy, you have to take it up to the counter. The guy comes out hauling it's this big, huge box. I'm like, what the hell is this? He's like, yeah, it's not very heavy. I'm guessing somebody sent you a blanket. No, little did I know. There we go. It's a dog fed bed for Mr. Stubbs. Tom Gross, as you can see, he likes it. Thank you so much.
Do you mean laid with in like the biblical sense, or just took a nap on?
Just took a nap on. Yeah, luckily you can see right there. Look at how sad he looks that he doesn't have his other pillow to go get fresh with. Anyway, enough Stubby dog talk. Vizzy, yeah, there's a whole bunch of talk about that thing, the brand new Daiwa DC reel that you have to plug in with a USB-C connector to charge. And it hooks up to an app on your phone. There's been all kinds of funny memes going around about it. The funniest one I saw was from the Tackle Talk podcast. Andrew, he had one of him like turning into Randy, poor Randy Blockett, saying something about like when you, I don't even know, when you hate technology or something like that, because apparently Randy hates forward-facing sonar. Anyway, it was pretty funny deal. But yeah, I will not be getting a Daiwa DC reel. But some stuff I will be getting, and we're going to kind of go back and forth into like regular bass fishing stuff, into Do It stuff. We're not just going to hound Brennan on Do It fishing. So regular fishing, just not even talking Do It stuff. What is your favorite thing to go out and do? Like if we were to go out on a boat together, my dream day is to do this. What is your favorite type of fishing?
That's pretty easy for me. I'm a jig freak. If I can catch fish one day or one way the rest of my life, it's going to be a jig.
9 out of 10 guests get on the old Randizzle jig train. The jigs are their favorite. Yeah, I'm definitely in the minority, being a frog guy, but
yeah, no, frogs are fun. Frogs are fun. That's one awesome thing about bass fishing, and the most frustrating thing maybe at the same time is that there's a million different ways to catch them. I like a jig. Now, you know, that's what I would choose if like that's the only thing I could do at the end of the day. I'll do whatever I have to. I'm the first one to pick up a spinning rod when I think I need to.
Oh yeah, I have
Not
no quarrels of picking up.
no, absolutely. I just want to catch as many fish as I can. So
yep,
yeah, absolutely. But jigs are a ton of fun. Like the feeling when they pound that thing and slackline you.
Yes,
man, that's incredible. And to have a great day doing that, that's my dream day. So jigs for me.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Now, as far as jigs, what is, and that's fishing fix. We'll do that question next. So, okay, a double kind of 2-part question.
Mhm.
What's your favorite jig like to buy commercially, like just an already made jig? And what is your favorite jig mold from Do It?
Okay. I'll start with it. I'll start with the commercial one. Man, it's been a long time since I've bought a jig. It's like if I'm in a pinch, like during a tournament and they're at a Cabela's or local tackle shop, wherever the tournament's at, is about the only time I buy a store-bought jig these days.
Yep, I can imagine. I've seen
I'm
the ones
also
you
going to
buy.
break it off like immediately if I get snagged. Right? I don't mess around. Like, see ya, right?
Yep.
So we go through a couple jigs, but I would say the Untamed Tackle Ace jig is a really solid concept. Big fan
I'm
of
not
that.
sure I know this one. Let's
Kyle Welcher's
Tackle Warehouse have it?
I'm not sure. Actually, the way I got on them was up on Lake Mille Lacs at a bait shop up there had them, and I picked up a couple packs because I didn't have any. I didn't even bring my jig box up to Mille Lacs, and ended up buying a pack and trying it, and then bought a couple more. I was really impressed.
You said Untamed Tackle?
Untamed, yep. There it
Oh,
is.
they are. Okay. Which one was it?
Ace jig, all the way to the left.
Oh, the
And
okay.
it is more. There you go. It's more
So it's like
archy
the old
profile.
school, like pig jig
Mhm.
type, archy sort of.
Yep, exactly. So the side profile makes it look like it's more of like a scrape jig / swim jig looking deal. You can see there it's got a really good archy profile, so it does stay vertical on the bottom. So pretty impressed with that one.
Okay, cool. I've never heard of them. I like
Good
the black
stuff.
and blue. I like the Bama bug too. A little. Ooh.
Yeah.
Fan of the purple.
The other thing I can appreciate about what they did with these is they used some pretty fine skirting material.
I can see that. Yeah, almost that like Flashaboo type.
Yeah, I don't believe there's Flashaboo, or at least in the jigs that I've got, but it is a finer material than your standard silicone. So good stuff. Okay.
Now, Do It Molds. So I put my link below. Of course, obviously, I'm partnered up with Do It, which I am proud to do. Iowa company. Make them tackle. I'm a tackle nerd. Of course, I always got to shout out the guys over at the Bait Cave for getting me into this, teaching me this stuff. And working with Do It has just, allowed me to do that much more. Brennan sending me molds and, looking at stuff and talking about things. Super cool. So if you're looking to get any sort of Do It stuff, I've got my link below. Consider using that. If you find it somewhere else cheaper, or you got a different favorite store, by all means, shop there. But I want to share this and talk about, okay, so when we talk about Do It stuff, what is your favorite Do It mold? Like if you were going to go out to your garage, you've got a tournament coming up, what is the jig that you're going to make? And I know that kind of depends, but.
Yeah, no, I would say right now my favorite jig is our hybrid grass jig. So if you go up to the search bar in the upper right-hand corner and type in 3538 or do that. There you go.
Oh, they're out of stock. No.
Yep. The world likes them a lot, so they're gone.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's probably my favorite out of everything I've got, minus the ball head finesse. So like me and Randy, the thing I like about those, you can fish the little, like, I think it's 5/16. I think they make them in 5/16. You can throw those around rocky jetties and stuff. Of course, we like the War Eagles if we're going to do like regular store-bought, very similar. But this one, which I'll kind of show you here, you can see the head there. I've got some made, and we'll have to do a giveaway. And you know what? I'll pick a handful of these out. I've got some of mine. You can't see me down here. since we're doing the do it stuff, I did a giveaway of these when I did the video making these, but I'll do another giveaway. This is my personal stash. I'll give away some of these, or if there's a color you want, I'll pick a winner and do a bag of all made jigs. But you can see that's what it looks like here. I'll go full screen real quick. That's what it looks like. So it's got that kind of tapered head like a grass jig, but when you look at it from the front, it's kind of got a little bit of a flat spot here. So it's almost like an archy mixed with a grass jig. Is that how you'd explain it, Brennan?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole idea behind that concept there was to have a like true utility jig, something that you can swim on the way back. Like, let's say you want to pitch it up to the edge of a grass line, drag it out a little bit, maybe drag it through some gravel, and then you want to swim it back to the boat. It's literally something. It's a jig that can do everything.
Yeah, versus like this is what I was talking about for me and Randy. Like if we're throwing, around rocky riprap and stuff, we love to throw this little round ball head. Not as good at swimming through, grass and stuff because it's got that kind of rounded, blunt head that's going to hit stuff and kind of have to push it away, as opposed to that, kind of pointed V nose of that grass jig.
Yep, for sure. And then you brought up the V nose, and like while it does have a wedge nose, it's also not quite like a bullet. So if you're dragging it on rock, and we did that intentionally, so if you're around rock, it's not going to wedge itself down into rock. But at the same time, it's streamlined enough and wedge shaped enough that it does swim straight every single time on the retrieve. So it's pretty good. It's balanced properly to swim perfectly horizontal as you bring it back on a retrieve, and it's balanced perfectly to stand up on the bottom as well. So we spent a lot of time paying attention to those little details on that, getting the fiber guard set right at the right angle. It's got a really aggressive keeper system, which is cool. And then it calls for a 30-degree hook, which is awesome because that's a perfect, kind of swim jig style hook, but it's also underutilized for bottom contact jigs. So we put it in a bottom contact jig too.
I like it. We've got a few people saying the War Eagle. Yeah, and that's actually what I did. So the regular round ball head finesse is a pretty kind of finesse hook. And I've got one that I actually converted and modified to match kind of that heavier wire War Eagle heavy finesse jig because I can make it in a 5/16 of my own. That's my only quarrel with the War Eagle jigs is I know Randy likes to throw the 3/8 is his favorite. I like just slightly lighter, but yeah, very similar jig. Both are awesome jigs. A bunch of people saying hey to Brennan. Also Brennan, Brown Baco, Scott, a bunch of people saying hey to you. So we got some
howdy.
Some Do It fans. Of course, Kuda, the man, the myth, the legend. Kuda, if you want to hop on here in a little bit later, you can certainly join us. I also want to get, there's a couple other people. I'm going to see if we can get them next week because it might be one or two, but also tackle makers. So should be pretty fun. Let's see. So Fish Daddy, my guy Arthur, he said for plastics, the Do It 5-inch Senko is fantastic. Great mold to get into making your own worms. Yeah, that's a really good point, Arthur, because the Do It mold, Brennan, you can kind of talk on this. What's kind of special about the Do It stick?
Real quick, Debo, what time are you at on comments?
7:50.
7:49. South Jersey Fisherman had a question also.
Okay, I'll pin it real quick.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, thank you.
You were asking what the difference is between our Senko and maybe some others out there. Was that the question?
Yeah, and just kind of the cool part. So I think what's kind of cool is the collab for the actual Senko that Do It does is kind of what I was talking about.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. The Senko mold that we offer is licensed through Yamamoto. So if you buy a Do It Yamamoto Senko mold, you are literally getting a mold of the actual Yamamoto Senko, which is really unique. There's a lot of companies out there on the commercial market that, have produced something like a Senko, right? Just a stick bait. I think anybody that fishes a lot of stick baits probably knows that the Senko is the deal. You just can't beat the damn Senko for some reason. So, we have a mold that allows people to create their own Senkos, which is super cool. One thing that we see specifically about that mold, it's really interesting. but it also makes sense. And that's that people that don't have any interest in making tackle other than remelting, repurposing their own plastic, you know, they're done at the end of the day. They pick up all their baits, put them in a bag, take them home, and they remelt them into that Senko mold, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's a great way to use plastics. Not only, you know, you can start and make your own, obviously you get, you know, plastisol type stuff, but yeah, if you've just got regular stuff, like if I go out and have a day throwing 25 D-bombs, you know, that was the deal or whatever, I can take all those ripped up ones, chop them up and make something out of it. So it's a cool way to make your, you know, your plastic and stuff go a little bit longer. For me, and I'll kind of ask you your favorite part of it, but for me is just the ability to tinker. Like I've always been a tinkerer since I was a kid. Like I would take stuff apart and tinker, like try to make my own stuff, you know, just kind of tinker with things. So even if it's not like the prettiest or most, you know, craziest, I just like, you know, trying different things and messing around with it.
For sure.
So like for you, what's your favorite part of making your own baits?
Yeah, I would say for me, on the plastic side, I guess I'll split it up into plastics versus lead here. On the plastic side, it's the customability. You know, making a very specific color to imitate a very specific forage in some cases, or something that's just totally different altogether, something wild. I've had it help me out on the water plenty of times to have something that imitates a shad maybe a little bit better in a swim bait that I made, right? You know, just really being able to play around and have full freedom to make adjustments and get something dialed in. On the lead side, I would say for me, the customability obviously is huge, but just having the right components, the right hook for the job, having that control is huge for me on the lead side, probably the biggest one. So I would say for lead, it's going to be customability and then just hardware, being able to choose the right hardware.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah, that is the cool part too for jigs. Like I know Kuda's in here, and Kuda's really into like all the hooks and different. He's way into the jigs like more than I am. I've barely tinkered with modifying my own molds. I've done a couple, like the Ned rig mold, for example. I got another Ned rig mold from you guys and modified it to take the 2-aught larger. Well, actually these, and actually that was from our trip on. So when we went to the Mississippi, I got to fish with Brennan, Mr. Luna, which was a super fun day. And I only had like light jigs. Like I didn't bring all my stuff with me. So I had like light bank fishing jigs because Rain and I usually throw like a 16th and 8th around here from the bank, which is fine. You know, you're fishing 6 feet, you know, deep, not an issue. Well, you move up to the river, you've got current. We've, you know, places we were fishing maybe 10-foot deep drop offs. That's a whole different game, right? It didn't work. So I actually modified one of my Ned rig molds to take the larger 2-aught EWG hook for these larger, like 3/16 quarter-ounce jig heads, which I had to rummage through Brennan's box. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm going to run through all your Ned rig heads because I have none. And luckily he had like one little thing left. And he's like, oh, I got a bunch in there. I'm like, do you have any of the heavier ones? And I think he had like 4 of the 3/16 or a quarter or something. He's like, oh, damn, I'll have to make some more. He's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No, so worry. After that, I was like, yeah, dude, I gotta modify one because I wanted just a little bit bigger hook. Because I was throwing the Ned Zone or the X Zone Nico Zone, which was one of my favorites from last year, a little bit larger plastic. And I wanted just a slightly bigger hook. So kind of getting into that. And again, kind of the fun part, like I said, tinkering, you don't have to use the mold just the way Do It makes it. I know there are guys that use Dremels and cut them out. I just use the Kuda method, which is put a bigger hook in it, hold it tight, and then pound it with a sledgehammer. And it worked. So
that's what I do.
Kuda,
I do it all the time. Yeah.
Hats off to you, Kuda, for teaching me that. Let's see. I'm going through here. I'm not ignoring chat. Everybody out there, I love you guys. Thank you all so much for commenting. Tom Mix, Fishing with Gramps in the house. All kinds of questions coming through here. Nick, another guy that used to make a ton of tackle. Japan Tackle was asking if I was going to get the Real Test or Tackle Advisors on. I would love to. If either of you guys have a contact, I did talk to Tackle Advisors a couple years ago, but I don't think he's doing stuff now since he works like in the fishing industry. I don't think he can really talk about that stuff because of his non-compete agreements and stuff. But Real Test, yeah, I don't know if he'd want to be on camera or not, but he could, I don't know, put an avatar up or whatever. I don't care. We could talk to him. Let's see. So let's get into some questions here. Okay, so going through the ones that I have starred. Smart Mouth, would you please ask about the best starter kit? So do you guys have starter kits? I think there was talk about jig starter kits and stuff coming out this year.
Yeah, there is. They're already very popular. We do have several kits available. We have a football jig kit. Go to itMolds, and it'll be the first thing that pops up once you hover your cursor over that.
Right here.
Or that.
Yeah, so just like we were talking about, the weedless Midwest finesse jig. So the Ned rig, that exact, Ned rig head that I was showing, that I think has been a game changer for bank fishing. And I don't say that a ton, but a weedless Ned rig head from the bank is amazing.
For sure.
So this comes with the mold, 100 pack of the hooks. So that's number one, and then 1/0 hooks. So it gives you the hooks.
Yep, you'll get 200 hooks in the mold if you buy that assortment. And then we have another one that has a melter and lead. So this is everything that you need right here to make 200 of those. And then the other one is just the mold and the hooks, right? So
gotcha.
This one's if you're starting from complete scratch.
Okay. Yeah, and for $155, that's not a bad buy at all. And you might think, well, I could go out and buy Ned rigs cheaper than that. Yeah, but the thing is, if you go to the store and don't have them, or you have to order them, like I can literally go out to my garage tonight and make 100 Ned rigs to have for tomorrow morning in whatever color I want, because I've got powder paint and stuff, so I can get all of it done here.
Yep, and then all you're doing once you have this is buying more hooks.
Yep,
hooks are cheap.
Hooks and lead. Yeah, hooks and lead's all you need. Yeah,
hooks are cheap.
For like what is 100 pack? Does this take you to it? What's
that
it like
one?
100 pack of hooks, like $7 or $8.
So that's 100 pack, and that's a little bit kind of a specialized victory hook. That one's a little bit more expensive, but I want to tell you 100 of them still might be like $15. So if you think about it,
I think I'm thinking the little 50 packs.
Yeah, I mean, what's 100 Ned rigs cost?
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
you're looking at, I don't even know what a pack is.
Yeah,
a few $100.
I haven't bought them in probably 6 years, so I don't know, but yeah, for sure. There's a substantial cost savings. And then, like you said, being able to just go pour them at will and make whatever color head, if it's me, I'm using like Magic Raw blue or black or chartreuse are probably the only Ned head colors I throw, but something to be said for blaze orange or red or June bug or.
Yeah, like a chartreuse head. And again, so talking about tinkering, so this is something I just got into doing. I think it was it the Kuda stream? It might have been when I was on with Kuda. I don't remember who was talking about. No, I think it was when he had the other guy on that does like the spotted jigs. I forget that guy's name, but he does jigs with he does multiple layers on the jig heads. Okay. If Kuda's still in here, he can name him. But he'll do where it almost looked like water spot drips because the way he layers it on the head, it looks like water spot drips of colors. Crazy. If you guys haven't followed him on Instagram. But one thing I've been doing too with the heads is doing not that thing. Doing with the heads is doing multiple colors. So I'll dip it in chartreuse, and then you take a paintbrush and dribble black or whatever color over it to kind of lighten that up a little bit and darken it up. There's a bunch of different things you can do like I did. I don't think I have any more. And I do have one in the jig head. Dad took all these, but I did my own tequila sunrise. Can't really see it in the light, but it's like a purpley, pink, black. A bunch of different ways you can kind of modify them and just tinker. But I think out of the new ones, Brennan, I forget what color this is. Is it Go Time, I think? Is the green pumpkin with the
yeah, it should have lime and blue flake.
Yep. Blue, blackish, green flake. Yeah, that's probably my favorite. Yep. If I was going to pick one, it reminds me of the Tramp Stamp in Reaction Innovations or Superbug from Missile. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that's my favorite probably too at this point.
So real quick before you go on to the next question, Debo, I just had a question.
Yeah.
As far as it's on the best starter kit kind of topic, what is one thing that if you talk to somebody that's getting into making baits, what's one thing that they normally forget about, or one thing that they're like, oh man, I should have always picked up X, Y, or Z, or I forgot to get this, or I forgot to get that. Is there anything that jumps out that people normally forget that they need?
So there's a lot of componentry depending on what you're making. if you're making like a skirted jig, for example, there's a lot of componentry, right? Like you might have a wire form that you need for your bait keeper if the mold calls for a bait keeper. You've got your skirt collar, assuming that you don't wire tie it. And if you wire tie it, you need wire. You've got your silicone tabs that you need. You've got powder paint and the hook. Well, that's a lot, right? So we do the best that we can. I think we do a pretty good job, both in our catalog and website, and providing you what you need for everything that we offer, right? So we've got products that have varying ranges of other components, accessories that are needed. So we try to do everything we can to let people know, hey, if you get this, this is exactly what you need. I would say, though, as far as things that people might forget, just a recommendation is probably get more hooks than what you think you might use, because once you get rolling, you probably just want to knock it out and don't stop.
Sure.
At least that's how I am, and that's how my bait making buddies are. Once we get going, we just make a pile.
Dude, yeah, it's almost a rhythmic therapy. Like you get into it and you're like, okay, I've done 10. I'll just do like maybe 10 more. That should be good. Then you're like, well, maybe I'll just do like half this thing of hooks so they're done. That'll be like 25 hooks.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, I've got like a little pile left. I might as well just finish this off. I know I'll use them. So it's like, once you get in the kind of the production line, you got your thing down. You're like, well, I just want to keep making them, get these rolled out here.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly.
Let's see. Brown Baitco with an interesting question. Will Do It make resin or foam bait molds? That's something that beginner resin bait makers could benefit from. So for
that would be really cool. That's something that I'm dabbling around with right now personally behind the scenes, is making a master mold for a resin swim bait. Just kind of prototyping that right now behind the scenes for my own personal use. I think it'd be super cool, no doubt. If we ever offer that, I don't know for sure, but super cool idea. Definitely cool.
Nick said, I missed the old War Eagle flipping jigs. Which ones are those? Randy, did you fish the old War Eagles? Are those like the Arky head style? The Jiu-Jitsu now is like, as far as flipping from a boat, I think a really, really good jig. I played with it last year a little bit just from the bank. It's a little heavy for a bank jig because it's 5/8, but the shape of it and everything is a really, really nice jig. I like that one.
What are you guys fishing for jig weights typically around here?
Like for ball heads, I like a 5/16 is my favorite to throw on a bait caster.
Gotcha.
Randy?
I've kind of, honestly, I really have started to like that 5/16 weight, just because it feels like the biggest thing of it is I don't think it gets hung up at nearly as much.
I don't think it does either. And it's a minute difference, like 3/8 to 5/16. It's very small, but
yeah, I mean, I'm more a little bit heavier, just a smidge, but God, I don't like, the crazy thing is I don't like anything overly heavy. So I'll do like a 3/8, but I'll never do anything really over that. Like a 1/2 inch to me is like way too much. I'm kind of weird when it comes to like heavier, bigger baits. I'd rather go small
from the bank,
whatever reason.
Yeah, from the bank, I think it is. Like from the boat, my starting is like a 1/2 ounce. But if we're fishing from the bank and I toss that into a brush pile, even if I get it down in there and hook a fish, remember, we got to get it back to us. So it's like, having something a little lighter, you can kind of worm through the brush and worm through the rocks. Just works better, in my opinion, as light as you can get away with.
Yeah, for sure. I would say for me around here, it's like 80% 3/8, and then 10% half, 10% quarter, and quarter ounces like mainly in the springtime when the water's still pretty muddy, usually still around here. Really, really light, 1/4 ounce just to slow you down, basically. And then other than that, it's 3/8 for me. 1/2 ounce if I have to, but yeah, it's interesting because like a lot of like the hardcore jig guys are like the Denny Browers, like these jig phenoms are all like 5/8, 3/4, just giant jigs. It's interesting because like the jig fools that I know around here that throw a lot of jigs. We're very rarely throwing anything over ½ ounce, very rarely over 3/8. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and then you get those, a
half ounce,
lot of
3/8.
those guys are, they're punching, not necessarily with jigs, but it goes as far as like Texas rigs and things like that. I'm still not going up to something that heavy. It's crazy to think like how heavy these guys get. Like throwing an ounce lure is just ridiculous. And then that's not even hardly anything when it comes to the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Paul K., we had to get our weekly Guggen Baits question, and he's asked me multiple times. As we answer every week, we do not love and die on a hill for Guggen, nor do we hate them. They're just another company. I've used some of their stuff, and I like them. Some of their stuff I think sucks. Like the clickbait, I think is a horrible lure. But I like the until Gramps ruined my thought process on it. The Trench Hog I actually really like is a cool, different lure. Kind of a spinoff of like a brush hog. I know there was a day where Randy and I were out fishing. I was throwing a worm. I don't remember what you were throwing, probably a jig. But I switched to that Trench Hog and caught, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 fish on wood when a worm wasn't working. So I think that one's a cool one. I also like the Rattlin' Ned. I think they were the first to ever do a Rattlin' Ned, and I've actually caught a lot of fish on that. So
they have a Rattlin' Craw. I don't know if I've ever really seen one or used one, but I know they got one of those too.
Austin asks, how are the open pour molds to deal with? Was thinking about starting there. From a starting point, it's nice because all you need is a Pyrex cup, some plastisol. You just pour it in there. I think they're harder. I know when I went up and filmed with Brennan and those guys on some stuff, Brennan kind of had to slap me around and show me how to do some open pours because I am not good at it. So I think like injection is a lot easier for a beginner because you're just sucking up plastic with a plunger, putting it in the hole, and then shooting it in, right? But I don't know, Brennan, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I could see how most people right away would assume that it's more beginner friendly. You definitely don't. You need less componentry, right? Like you don't need an injector. Yeah. Like you mentioned, it's got its own caveats, and I would say in some ways is much harder. It's a totally different technique. So if you're good at open pour, you can inject, right? If you can do injection molding, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good open pourer. I think both are relatively simple and just take practice. But I would say to get started, I would go with an injection.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of people were. Now we've got all the Guggen comments rolling in. Let's see. Let me go back to some questions. Randy, do you have anything? Randy also leads a kind of good outside influence here because Randy's only barely tinkered in like jig making stuff over here at my house. So Randy, if there's anything from like a new perspective that you're from the outside looking in, like, okay, I'm going to start this tomorrow. What are things that you see? Feel free to jump in here. I see you got your hat turned the right way, so we know you're not in danger.
Right,
so it's an open forum here to talk.
I guess the only other question outside of the thing that people forget about or don't get is like what's the most, this is kind of a loaded question, I guess, but what's the most difficult thing that you have to, I guess, prepare yourself for when you get into, I'm just going to keep it to jig pouring just because I love jigs and that's probably what I would do. But if I was to go out tomorrow and get everything that I needed, what's the thing that I'm going to have to pay the most attention to or be the most mindful of when I start the process?
I would just recommend, so you don't have an unpleasant surprise, go ahead and like get an area kind of dedicated to this. I know guys that just do it on their workbench and they get their pouring stuff out. And they might make 500 whatever, right, for the year. Insert whatever bait. Might be shaker heads, let's say. Make 500 of them, and then they're done for the year. And the melter goes away, and the mold goes away, and that's fine. Just have like an adequate workspace for this. So I think the ideal setting, if you're pouring lead, is probably your garage. It could be your basement. Just make sure that there's some form of ventilation. And understand that you're dealing with hot stuff. So don't do this in your kitchen. Don't do this in the living room. You know, maybe do this out in your garage on a workbench or something. Because if you know, like we see it all the time. I have friends that have had like apartments and stuff, and we're like trying to pour it inside. Don't do that. Just get a space.
Yeah, ventilation is key, and like I know you can do it without it, but it's just like the downstream effects from, especially if you do it a bunch. Like I don't ever even want to get into that place. I've been like, oh, I should have worn protective stuff. You know, I wear, like when I paint. Funny enough that we're talking about that. So I used to wear the Bane respirator, like here, and then it's got the two big things that filter out any sort of stuff. Oh, you think darkness is your ally? Anyway, it's got the thing here from airbrushing, like Brennan was saying, inside. I didn't realize. So like I started in my basement around this corner. You can't see, but I've got like a big open part over there. I started without like great lighting. And once I added great lighting, the amount of like overspray and residue that was coming back. So that's when I made, if you guys can see, where would that be? This way you can't see it, but that's, I've shown it a bunch of times. I made the plywood deal to fit in my window. Now I've got the hooded space. When I spray, it sucks all that right out. So don't mess with any of that. Oh, what I was going to say is I actually wear the full face mask thing that looks like some sort of nuclear fallout deal, because my eyes, like even from just spraying, like with the ventilation, my eyes would itch. So, you know, even a little bit of spray paint overdo or overspraying, maybe I'm just a sissy, but now I have zero issues wearing that full face mask. Oh, I'm dropping all my blanks. So yeah, don't overlook safety. Don't get into the thing of, oh, I don't look cool because I'm wearing a bicycle helmet. I'd rather look not cool than have some sort of injury or sickness from it.
Yeah, I kind of learned that the hard way. I was staining a bunch of stuff like a couple weeks back, and like out in the garage, and it was cold, so I had the doors closed, stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, holy cow, I got to go stand outside for a minute because just staining stuff was, right.
Let's see. I didn't mean to click off that. I was going to post this one, but Hammer, since we've got it, open pour needs steady hand. Yeah. I'm not the steadiest anyway, and I drink a ton of coffee. So I'm like pouring an open mold. Brennan's like, oh, cool. You're doing a marbling effect. I'm like, no, I'm trying to pour straight. He's like, oh, maybe you should just stick to injection.
You should have just told me you were trying to marble it.
Yeah. So Matthew, I'm sorry, Matthew, I don't know where your comment went, but he was asking Brennan about these JDM style, kind of based on the OSP, and I'm not sure what this one, like what Do It took from for kind of some inspiration, but this one's kind of a cool, kind of a hybrid, almost a rounded flat side with just a little bit of rounded stuff on it, circuit board lip, and then this one's your flat side. I like these to paint because they're flat, and then you can see it from there. Again, with the circuit board squared lip. So Brennan, have you had anybody? I haven't fished these a bunch as far as not being really a JDM. The two that I fished the most, I absolutely love this. It's kind of like the Vixen, the Excite, Heckler, Striking Sexy Dog. All these are kind of the same, very close deal. And then I was actually just messing with, and this is not going to show very good on camera, but this had highlights and it's kind of see-through. It's kind of that purple chartreuse, mega bass, that
looks good.
Big color that everybody likes. Yeah, it looks way cooler in person. It's hard because this is a yellow light. But so what has the feedback been on the blanks and stuff?
Very good. Yeah, very good. All of the latest blanks that we launched last July, and I think you just outlined most of them anyways, doing very well. My favorite probably is that Topwater. Caught a lot of fish on that this fall. It's a great bait. Yep.
Yeah. Super easy to walk. I don't really know what else to say about it without sounding like I'm trying to be a do-it hoe and just keep pimping it, but it really is a good topwater bait. Which y'all know, probably my two favorites are the, I don't know if I have that old one still. I mean, I've got a KVD Sexy Dog that I've had for I don't know how long. And it looks like it's been through 17 civil wars.
The chrome one?
Yeah, that used to be chrome, but it's now like bone because it's all scraped off. But that and like a Head and Super Spook. And this one, I mean, fits perfect to the larger KVD Sexy Dog, not the junior. So this is like a 4.5.
That's 4 1/4.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's a very biteable profile. It's not too small. It's not too big. Little ones will eat it, but it definitely will draw a little bit bigger bite on average.
Yeah, I was saying I'm living proof that you can catch lots of dinks on it too. So don't be afraid that it's not going to get bites. Let's see. Kuda in the house. Kuda, do you want to join? Should I send you a link? You can certainly hop in here with us. I know you've got a ton of knowledge too. I don't see you message me, but join a jig making community, ask questions, use their knowledge to help through the process. Yeah, so kind of starting with me, somebody I want to get on is Matt Luna. We already had that guy Skimpy on, so I got to meet both of those guys when we went up for the Do It meetup. They both, work with Do It too. And both of those guys, super cool dudes. And they're actually two of the channels when I went out to YouTube, because just like a lot of you looking for any other fishing stuff, I went out to look at that because I had nothing. I had no previous knowledge about doing lead stuff. And Brennan's like, here, let me send you a lead pot and some lead. Why don't you try making some jigs? And I'm like, I don't know anything about that. So that's what I did. I watched Luna and that guy Skimpy, and it was awesome. So yeah, join those. Watch the guys like them. Kuda, Jig Squad, of course, has tons of cool stuff on. He just had trippy jigs on. Like if you like crappie jigs, I'm going to order some from him. But a bunch of cool bait makers. That's the cool thing Kuda's doing. Like you said, I'm not trying to be the most popular, doing the crazy stuff. Like I want to get these small guys that make jigs, that do stuff like us in their basements and garages, and help show them off. So I think Kuda actually, I was going to buy a couple sticker packs. Hit me up. I'm going to buy some so we can do those as a giveaway. I think your stickers are cool. Let's see. What else do we have for starred questions? And Brennan, is there anything you want to throw in while we're going through this?
I can't think of anything offhand.
Okay.
If something comes to mind, I'll spit it out.
Here's one from Matthew. Has Do It ever thought about making and selling spin cast molds?
I don't believe so.
What is a spin cast mold?
A spin cast mold is how most of the commercial jigs that you would buy are casted. So it's
those like rubber looking plate things.
Yep. They're a lot of times silicone. They can be like a stone material too, but they're kind of like pie shaped, right? They're round. They have two halves, top and bottom. They spin, and then gravity pulls the hot lead into the cavities.
Gotcha.
Much higher threshold, much higher barrier to entry. So like the average person at home likely wouldn't be able to justify it, where our goal with our product line was to making your own tackle at home as simple as possible was like the philosophy behind Do It. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how that would go over, but
gotcha.
Interesting.
That is Do It. Yeah. Does Do It do anything like this for people? So Bassless Chap asked if someone had an idea for an aluminum injection mold, could they get it made from you guys? Do you do special custom orders or anything?
We don't, unfortunately. We get asked a lot about that. That is not a service that we offer. I'm sure you can imagine the time investment and headaches maybe that would go into that. What we do have is blank molds. A lot of times people have success with just purchasing a blank mold from us, finding somebody, a machine shop in their local area that can take it on. And it can totally range on cost, but like, there's a lot of times like guys are getting custom mold made for $200, $250. So it's not that bad, right? So buy a blank mold.
That's pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you have like a CNC person or something like that, or I think it'd be kind of cool to make like just sit from scratch and sit down and design your own thing. It'd be pretty cool.
Sure.
Have something nobody else has. Austin asked a good question. This is kind of something that I wondered too, like when I was first getting into it, looking at all the different stuff. What's a cheaper hobby to get into? Soft plastics and jigs, or painting blanks?
Okay. Yeah, good question. I would say the most cost-effective one is probably going to be your lead. So just think about, think about when you go to, if you're interested in this at all, think about first what you use and lose the most of. Are you fishing a lot of hard baits? Like you're a hard bait guy, you're losing them to pike or brush piles, or, you're going through piles of them. Maybe pick up airbrushing. But a lot of us are throwing jigs, shaky heads, Ned rigs. swim jigs. You know, you get a lead setup, and all you got to do when you want to make your next thing is just get the mold, right? So I'd start off with lead personally, but cost effectiveness is probably still lead.
Yeah, and I get asked a lot of questions, and it's not necessarily like, I think a lot of people look at like DEBO'S and like, you know, whoever it is, any of the custom tackle stuff is like, oh, so I can save a bunch of money right off. The upfront investment is not cheap on any of them, to be honest. I mean, you've got to get a melter, you've got to get lead hooks, you've got to get your you know, molds to pour it in. If you're in soft plastic, you get a plastisol. You're probably not just going to get one mold, you're going to get a couple. You've got to get your injector. Airbrushing, you've got to get a decent compressor, you know, your airbrush, tubing, blanks, different paints, things to hold them, things to put the epoxy on to cure them. But the fun part is, so like here I'm in Iowa, I don't really care if I'm not saving money on a lot of these. It gives me something fishing related to do in the winter. Like there's only so many ways you can organize tackle or like switch different rods and reels around to see how pretty they look in the winter before you go bat crap crazy. And like Brennan said, you know, if it's something you use and lose a lot, in the long run, it will definitely save you money. Like if you're a jig guy like Randy, if he had one of these molds, I guarantee he'd have 7,000 jigs poured, and at that point you would start saving money, you know. But it's also kind of that custom tackle making. Like, how many companies do you know that sell a Tequila Sunrise 2-aught EWG Ned rig head? Like if you want one, nobody. DEBO does though, you know.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, if you think about it, like getting into the lead side, it's basically the cost of like what a lot of people would spend on a rod and reel, right?
sure. Yep.
And if you think about it, like, you know, you can go out and fish and in one day in one brush pile or one rock pile lose 5 shaky heads or 5 Ned rigs, 5 jigs.
Right.
If you have all the stuff, if you spent the $150, you know, that it might take to get into making your own football jig, you don't have to lose a ton of them before it makes sense. So, yeah,
And you
from
can have
there
them
on,
whenever you need them.
yeah,
That's a big
exactly.
thing for me too. Is
And in whatever
you know,
colors you want them to be, right?
right. Yeah, especially, you know, through the whole COVID thing, there were times like Randy was saying, trying to tell people that War Eagle sucked just so people wouldn't buy them, because you couldn't even find War Eagle jigs. You know, like you couldn't find. You would go to any, you know, place in store and they just didn't have them. So it's like, oh, I'll just go out and make 50 of them. You know, no big deal.
Yeah, and like you said, in the wintertime especially, like those are our busiest
Yes.
months business-wise for that reason. Once people are done hunting for the year, like, you know, down south, they're just finishing up, right? This is kind of the months where our business gets insane because everybody's at home. It's winter. A lot of people aren't fishing, even in the south. The guys that are lucky enough to go out and fish can still fish, but a lot of the world is in the winter right now, so they're making tackle.
Right. Brian, we kind of touched on this one. I don't know that he has a lot to share. A lot of it's going to be kind of iCast releases, but I know there's some fun stuff coming out. So I think will start trickling that stuff out and do some teasers and such.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff coming. Some stuff that we've never done before, so it'll be cool.
I'm excited. Brian asked a good question here. I'm actually going to go grab some other stuff because I just happen to think. And like the other thing too is, you know, people will ask, like especially on the crankbait side, are you going to save a bunch, you know, of money of doing this? Probably not up front, but again, like we're talking about down here, is I've like messed with different things, like just trying different colors and different stuff. And it's honestly kind of became a type of therapy for me. Like literally when I sit down here, I put these in. Arthur, thank you, Fish Daddy. I'll throw in these wireless earbuds, put my mask on, and just paint. And like a couple of hours will go by like nothing. And it's just calming. Like I'm just listening to, you know, some Slipknot. I know that's probably not the most calming music, but listening to some Slipknot, like painting stuff, just kind of getting a nerd. So it's also kind of a good way just to de-stress after work, you know, instead of just plugging into social media and, you know, mindlessly flipping through stuff. You know, do stuff and you have something you can be proud of. Like I'm always blown away when I post a picture and people are like, dude, that is so cool. How'd you do that? It's like, well, I was just painting, you know? So it's kind of fun to have that end product that you can say you made. And when you go out and actually catch something on a bait that you made, you know, or painted from scratch, it's a totally different feeling. It's a cool thing. Brian asked Brennan, pouring on soft plastics, how do you mix the plastisol to make the baits softer or less stiff? And then I'm going to tie onto that and also talk about the second part, which is like floating versus not floating, because that's also something for people to talk about. I'm going to go grab some more plastics for the giveaway because we'll get that running soon. So I'm going to go on mute.
Yeah, so to make a plastic softer, and this goes for making it more rigid, more harder as well. We sell separately from your plastisol. You can purchase in 5.5 ounce bottles or pints what's called softener and or hardener. And this is just an agent that's going to go into your plastisol after you've already heated it. You're going to just put in a few drops, like 2-3 drops per fluid ounce of heated plastisol. And, so if you got 4 ounces, you put in 8 drops, right, of this softener, let's say, and you mix it up, and that's going to give enough softener to that 4 ounce batch, enough that you're going to recognize that it's softer, and you can actually continue to add softener or hardener to make it, whatever you desire, as soft as you want. We also do sell regular, soft, and hard formula plastisols. So if you know that you want something soft, you can just buy a gallon, let's say, of soft, and then you can make it softer or harder from there. So a lot of flexibility that you can do with the rigidity of your plastic, which is cool. Something that, sorry, I just got done sanding my hardwood floor all day, so I have like
no worries,
sawdust in my throat. But the rigidity of plastic is something that is so overlooked in the world of fishing. What your bait will do when it's much harder versus if it's super soft is pretty incredible, the difference it can make. It's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but that's a cool question.
So I had a question kind of going back a little bit to when DEBO was talking about his marbling of the soft plastics. So somebody like myself, I don't have the same vision as to what DEBO does when it comes to like painting or pouring and things like that. I feel like I'm like, oh, I could do green really good, just like one solid color, or I don't feel like I would ever try to dip my toe into the, doing crazy stuff and try to go outside of the norm. Is there anything that you could like recommend for somebody like me that, I don't think I have a steady enough hand to do a certain kind of pour, or obviously this isn't going to be, straight out of the gates. This is down the road a little bit. If I were to get into something like this, is there anything that you would recommend for somebody like me to try to look at to help me in that process?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, we have a soft bait startup kit as well, which are very popular because, they come with everything that you need to get started. So we have 2 different soft bait kits. One of them allows you to select 4 different colors of colorant and 4 different colors of glitter. And it comes with literally everything you need to get started aside from your mold. So if I was a beginner looking to get into this, I would pick one of those 2 kits, know that the more expensive one comes with more quantities of product. So like instead of a quart of plastisol, you get a gallon of plastisol. Instead of getting, 2 colorants, you get to choose 4 of your own, not 2 predetermined. So I would look into the kits, and I would also just start off super basic with your colorants and glitter. Get green pumpkin, get black, get white, maybe get chartreuse, right? And then
Sure.
Go simple with your glitters. Get blue, red, black, silver. Call it good.
So if you were to get like, say, a gallon, what would that normally yield you? So if you didn't have to, if you didn't mess up on 3/4 of the molds you try to pour, like how many soft plastics or on average do you think you would get out of like, say, a gallon?
I get asked that a lot, and I really should like try to do the math sometime because you totally could by weight. The reality is there's just so many variables to this
Sure.
to be able to tell you an exact number. But like if you're, biggest variable being the bait itself. What's the volume of the bait, which is what's going to determine the weight, which is what's going to determine the outcome. I don't have an exact number, but I can tell you it's a gallon would make a lot of 5-inch Senkos, a lot.
Sure.
And then the beauty is nothing goes to waste. So as you shoot your mold, oh, I don't have one in here. I have prototypes that I can't show anybody. As you shoot the mold, the plastic goes down into what's called the sprue hole, and then into the runner, and then into the cavity. And the part that goes into the cavity is called the gate. Well, all of that stuff, once you pull it out and you have your baits, right, ready to fish, you can take all of that and remelt it back down. So nothing goes to waste in the process. So that's the nice part.
So that's like the bar mat shot of pouring your own baits.
Yep.
That was one thing I was going to ask you. Is it that much more difficult, say, if I, pour, say, a dozen baits or however many, and I'm like, oh, this just doesn't look like what I was wanting it to. Granted, as long as the color is going to stay the same, I should probably be okay, but I could remelt that down and re-pour it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And the biggest thing when you're reheating plastics, this goes from, like, if you're fishing an original 5-inch Senko from Gary Yamamoto, and you've got a handful of them that you put in your pocket, or got caught in the corner of the boat all day after fishing, you can take those. You can mix them with baits that you poured yourself from home, let's say, and as long, like, what I try to do is just combine light colors. So, like,
sure,
your green pumpkins melt down with the rest of your green pumpkins. Your black and blues stay with black and blues. Your whites stay with whites, and you can remelt it all back down and shoot it into whatever you want. One important thing to know about remelts is you're going to want to incorporate what's called heat stabilizer back into it, likely at some point.
Okay, so it's not just the plastic. There's a little bit extra stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, I would just I'm sorry, I would have heat stabilizer handy at least. It's not to say you're 100% going to need it, but it would be good to have handy. And what's heat stabilizer is one of the agents that's already in your plastisol when you buy it from us. And it's in the name, it's a stabilizer. So as you heat plastic and it goes through numerous heat cycles, every time it goes through a heat cycle, it's burning off some of that stabilizer. So after you've reheated it, it's usually 4 or 5 times without adding more heat stabilizer. You've likely removed all the stabilizer. And what it's going to do now is start to burn or discolor. And you're probably going to see that in a lighter color, like a white, a chartreuse, a fluorescent color. Being that they're lighter, you'll see it discolor faster. So you just want to add it back in. If you've been reheating plastic 3, 4, 5 times, you need to be adding heat stabilizer.
So as far as additives, and I don't know, like, as far as the plastics are considered, like, you guys do like ice fishing plastics and things like that, or?
Yep, we do.
And I want to say maybe DEBO has showed me, but I'm not 100% sure, like a glow in the dark and things like that. Because I know with ice fishing, that's kind of a big thing. You guys have that too?
We do, yeah. We have glow pigments. We have highlight pigments, which is what's going to add like a metallic sheen, like the flash of a minnow or a shad, right? So we have 6 different colors of color shifting pigments, and then we have a UV additive as well that you can put in plastic if you're a UV believer, which some people are, some people aren't. I can't say I've noticed a difference, but we got that too.
I see DEBO down there chomping at the bit, like he's got something to say, but I'm going to ask one more question.
I'm running through for anybody that's sitting here watching. I've got a do it giveaway kind of inspired thing of all stuff that I've made here. I'll show you here in just a second. No, I'm just reading through comments. I was like 15 minutes behind. So
sure,
go ahead, ask away.
I don't know where I got them. I want to say it was probably from like one of the mystery tackle boxes or something like that. But it was a soft plastic that it basically was like a hypercolor shirt if you were of the age where you knew what hypercolor was. So
I was born in 1995, so I don't know.
Okay, so not necessarily. So color changing based on like body heat or water temperature or something like that. Have you guys ever considered, putting that type of product out? I know the one that I had was the water temperature, if it was cooler, I think would turn it to a different color. I don't know if there's a whole lot to it or not, but it was just something interesting that I came across a while back.
I honestly, I can't say I've ever heard of that. It's interesting. If you know anything about it, send info my way. I'd at least look into it. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find anything about it here real quick, and I'll let Debo get to saying what he wants to. I know he's chomping at the bit to say
He
something.
seems mad. He's very angry.
Yeah, he probably is.
I'm a very angry individual.
Mhm.
Actually, I kind of am. I've definitely turned into an old man, like stay the hell off my lawn for a lot of things that I never used to be. But most of the time, whoa, Stubby come barreling down like a elephant. What are you doing, Stubby dog? Go lay down your pillow. Go lay down. Go lay down on your new pillow. Don't romance it. Just lay down on it. Good boy. Okay, so YouTube giveaway is going to be hashtag. Whoops, I'm not sharing. I am sharing, but it's the wrong thing. Let me show you real quick. So I've got some of the new katana craws that I really liked. It had a few good days on these. Cool for a trailer. So these are like the ball-headed finesse jigs that Randy and I throw 5/16. It pairs really well with those. Kind of a short, stocky, gives it a good meaty look. If you want something like real small and skinny, maybe not the best. But as far as just like a regular like finesse jig trailer, really good. And I was surprised, Brennan, I remember when this first came out, he's like, yeah, these little antenna have like really good movement on them. And I'm like, well, Brennan is high on plastic because I guarantee that's not going to have a lot of movement. And of course, I've got a fish tank. And if you all follow me on Instagram, I did some tests with this, and it has a ton of kick, but it's kind of a finesse kick because it's not a ton of plastic. Now, can those get ripped off? You know, that's what people said. Can they get ripped off? Yeah, absolutely they can. But when you're pouring your own, I mean, shooting, how many is it in the mold of those? Just the regular.
That is going to be a
five or
5 or 6 cavity. I want to tell you.
Yeah. So I mean, when you're shooting, you can just and you can have 6 within a couple seconds and get a whole bag. So I've got a whole bag of these different ones that I did. Randy was talking about like my marbling stuff. I haven't figured out a way to good marble, but this is to actually match some of the craws that we have around here. Some of these rusty craws have like a blue-green gross bottom to them. This came out a little bit lighter than I wanted. It should have been a little bit like darker, but you know, stuff like this where you can do a two-tone with like a splitter where you can pour 2 different colors. You would shoot it this way. One color goes this way. One color goes this way. You can do fun stuff like that. But I've got some cool like black and blue. I've got like a cool June bug that I ended up finally getting that I really like the color on it. Just a bunch of those. I'll throw this jig in too. I'll put it in a separate thing so you know what it is. You don't poke yourself. I've got some Ned rigs that I made up. This is a whole batch of, I've got red, I've got brown, pumpkin, green pumpkin, and then a couple laminates that are 2 colors. I've got some of the larger Magnum Midwest finesse heads. So this was also something new for last year that I personally liked because you can do kind of a powery finesse, I guess, move to it. Let me get a color you might be able to see here better. That black's kind of boring. So this is the Go Time that I really like. So it's a larger Ned style head. So you can see this much bigger head shape, and it actually fits perfect on the back of those. I don't know that I have fits perfect on the back of these katana craws, right? It's the same kind of diameter. So you can fish this on a bait caster, a little bit heavier wire hook. I think this is a 3/0. So if you just are absolutely against throwing a Ned rig on spinning tackle for, you know, whatever reason, throw these. And for bank fishing, I actually like it because if you get caught in stuff, it's a little bit heavier hook. You don't have to baby them as much. You know, you can throw that. I was throwing it on, I think, a medium with 12-pound fluorocarbon, and it felt great. I've got a custom crank in there that I painted. I've got some of the Do-It Rippers, a bunch of random colors that I had here, and then some jigs. So some finesse jigs, and I'll throw some of those hybrid jigs in right now. So that's quite a bit of stuff. Hopefully you guys like this one. That will be under hashtag do it, hashtag DOIT. And we're going to do some, let's get some this or that's out there, folks, while we're doing this. We'll hit Brennan with some this or that questions actually for all of us. Go through here. So hashtag do it. Randy, what do you got?
I was going to say real quick before we get to that, you must be present to win. Canadian fellow North Americans. Sorry, Debo, we'll figure something else out for you. Again, present to win. And only.
Yeah, definitely not shipping this to Canada. Sorry. I shipped like a thing of Bushi beetles. Actually, funny that we say that. So the winner of the Bushi video, I did a whole thing of like Bushi beetles, and it cost like $30 because plastic is heavy. So it costs like $30 just to ship it. So at that point, it's like I might as well just do like a $50 gift card. I know it seems kind of steep, but it's like I might as well because I'm going to pay $30 just to ship it to you. So, or we can figure something else out. If you don't want that, I can send you a handwritten note with my signature, and that's probably worth in the next few months. I would say a couple $1,000 at least.
At least,
eBay. So
yeah.
Okay, what do we got? Fire us your this or that's, Fish and Friends. There was Gramps. Did you leave your American Legacy code out there? I know there were some people asking for that. If you guys are looking for used gear, I mean, they have a whole bunch of stuff, but I know for used stuff, American Legacy has been really good for me. I don't work with them. I'm not sponsored by them. I heard of them through Gramps. So, Gramps, I don't see your code out there. If you want to throw it, please do. But I don't know what else is going on here. Okay, so we had people guessing. Hashtag Tequila Sunrise. I always love to hear the hashtags. Hashtag Rizzle Dizzle. And then we did have some people guessing Do It. Nick, I think, was the first. So, Nick, I think you are the winner.
I hope I win this one.
Randy, you're not winning this one. And Joshua Simonson is not winning this one either. He's figured out a way to scam the stuff. Okay, so what do we got for this or that's? Let's see.
Fishing with Gramps posted his codes 846, FYI. Gramps 10.
46. Oh, is that all it is? Gramps 10? Okay, well, that's easy. I should have just. Where are you, Gramps? Here's one. Has Do It ever thought of getting into making swim bait blanks for painters? Oh, like the larger ones? I know you guys do like the river to sea, like the S-Waver type, but I think it'd be cool to have a legit design blank instead of guys painting kit knockoffs. Yeah, so I've got, like, there's a few other companies I've got stuff from, like the, gosh, what is the name of it? I can't even think. The Clash, like the KO, the knockoff of the KO, which is still a really good blank. And that's like the weird part of tackle making is you can't exactly copy the exact deal of it, but they're very close. Like those clashes are, I would say 95%. And Matthew's one of the guys, I know he does a bunch of them. He tested some for me, and said it was very close. So is that anything that Do It has looked into as more of the, bigger glides and swim baits? I know that's kind of a big trend, I feel like.
For sure. It's been something that's been brought up by me. I would like to see it for sure. The challenge and a challenge that I'm up for, but it's just whether or not we can make sense of it business wise, right? The challenge is with those swim baits is like the intricacies of the actions that you're ultimately looking for, and then the consistency of them too. So it's not easy to make a big glide bait a consistently good product and cost effective. Could we do it? Absolutely. It's just a matter of should we do it? So I don't know. I think it'd be cool to see.
I like how StreamYard also doesn't do, like, when people use emojis, it just does like whatever those emojis are, it puts it out into. So we've got some Stubby and DEBO'S ads out there. Those are supposed to be the like the emojis if you're on YouTube. Man, we've got a bunch of cool questions coming here. So we'll go a couple this or that's, and then get into the drawing, and then we'll do some other fun questions and see what all you got. So let's see. Where do you get your mold from? So this was when I did see somebody asked, can I repurpose lead that I have around? People were talking about putting whatever the stuff is that brings the slag to the top, like all the impurities.
Yep.
So what, I guess, has been I've only used your guys' stuff because I'm scared of getting lead that would have yucky stuff in it, but what have you done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you, I guess I'm spoiled in the sense that I have access to pure lead always, whenever. So I understand that that's not the case for most people, but we do have soft pure lead available in 5-pound ingots that we sell. I would say, honestly, like, there's nothing wrong with wheel weights or, plumber's lead, roofing lead, wherever you can get it from. I mean, I know guys that have got like lead from the walls in x-ray rooms at old hospitals. So it can come from all over the place. Yeah.
Wow.
For sure. Wild stuff. So it can come from numerous places. Just know that depending on where you get it from, it might not be pure lead. It can have other alloys mixed in it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can affect the weight of your finished bait. So like if it's supposed to be a 1/4 ounce and it's got some tin in it, the lead that you have, or some bismuth in it, that's lighter than lead. And your 1/4 ounce jig might be slightly under 1/4 ounce now. Is that a big deal to most people? Probably not. But it's something to keep in mind. And then the other probably most frustrating part, if you do buy lead sourced from, let's say, a junkyard or a metal recycling plant that has like a bunch of wheel weights laying around, go ahead and use them. Just know that it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle probably, with more impurities and oxidization that has happened over time. So you just need to flux it with cleaning flux, which is the product that brings the impurities to the surface so you can scrape them away. So it's just a little bit more work if you get recycled lead.
Okay. Let's see. We did hit 130, so that was my. Let's answer this one when we have it on screen. So each of us are going to answer. And Dizzle, I know you might not have as much experience, but from what you've done, this or that, would you only, if you could only do one or the other for the rest of your life, pour lead or pour? I'm going to say pour/inject plastics.
I mean,
I will go.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say lead. Lead is easier, even though I don't like it. Initially, I didn't like working with lead. I think it's easier, and I think I lose lots more lead stuff than I do plastics. I mean, you burn through plastics, but like lead is, it's nice to have a ton of Ned rig heads or like jigs that I'm not worried about. Oh, I've got 10 of them. If I lose one, I'm not super scared, you know. That's me.
Not knowing really a whole lot of anything about injecting/pouring plastics, and just kind of that overwhelming, I guess, fear of like it's not going to turn out right. It's going to look like trash. I'm going to waste everything. I'd probably rather do the lead, just because I feel like I can mess up just a little bit less with that than plastic.
Of course you would. I see you in the old days. Anybody remember DuckTales? I'm dating myself here, but remember DuckTales and Scrooge McDuck that would swim in like the gold coins? I could see you swimming in piles of jigs that you made. Carefully, I guess you don't hook yourself.
Yeah, that would be horrible to do that.
It's like Saw when they got thrown in the thing with all the needles.
Oh God, you would have to say that.
Okay, Brennan, how about you?
I too will pick lead.
Okay.
There's just like lead, like swim bait heads, jigs, everything that you can do with lead. Not that you can't do a lot with soft plastics, but yeah, I got to go lead. I just think that it's the stuff that you can make so easily and better than what you can find in a store, as fast as you want at your own will. To me, that's worth more than buying a pack of soft plastics from, wherever here and there. So I'm going lead.
Yep, I agree. All right, we're going to draw real quick. So I'm going to give you the count of 3. If you haven't entered, #do it. And you only have to enter once. If you enter 5 times, it takes out duplicates. So don't do that. But if anybody that hasn't done it, I'm going to give you the 1, 2, 3. All right, we're drawing.
I want to win.
And
so
let's
bad.
see, who do we have? You can literally come over if you didn't live 17 hours away because you're a go big red. Little Rich, did you just win? So hold on. Little Rich actually won last week. So Little Rich, how does that happen? I mean, that has to be some sort of weird thing. So Little Rich already has one.
You need to clear out your cookies.
We'll send Little Rich something. Get his info and do it. We'll send him something for being
I've already got it. Okay.
A half winner.
All right. Little Rich will hook you up. I'll get Brennan your stuff. I think I've already got your stuff. I'll double check, but I think I've already got you. Okay, so we're going to draw again. How does that happen? Like literally 2 weeks in a row. There has to be something weird with the StreamYard giveaways.
Yeah, you got too many cookies.
Oh, no. Osama Khan's in Canada. No. Okay, well, I'm going to bite the bullet. So Osama Khan is always in here watching. Has begged me for some hard baits. Osama Khan, I'm not going to send you all that because it'll cost a fortune. So I'm going to do another one. But I'm going to do a couple hard baits for you and some stickers. So I'll work with you on the side because I know you've wanted those. He actually was like, dude, I'll buy some from you. I'm like, I can't. I don't have the license to sell in Canada. So we'll do crank and sticker. Okay, Little Rich. We've got Osama Khan. I've already got Rich's stuff. We're going to draw again for the box. What a night. Y'all didn't know we were going to be doing spin the wheel 3 times, huh? Dizzle's fish. I can't believe we saw it. Okay, Julie. I've never seen Julie win. Julie Russo. Julie, are you in here?
Dang it. So close.
Cool. It's good to see a new name winning in here. Okay.
I'll watch for her.
Hellabass told me a secret. Okay, and I need to add that. Plus do it.
Julie is here.
Okay, Julie's here.
8:58.
Some already got written down. Okay, Julie. So, Julie, if you can please email me your address and stuff at DEBO'SFishing@gmail.com. Please include a screenshot of your YouTube deal so I know it's you, because we have had people trying to claim prizes and it's not them. So, congrats. Julie, please send there. Okay. And I've got some other this or that. So, Julie is box of DEBO goodies. Okay, thank you, Randall, for the Randizzle sponsored whiteboard. That thing has saved my butt in keeping track of giveaways because I'm bad at that. Okay, so let's go over. I've got some starred ones. So we did the this or that. Okay, so Braden, good buddy, who has bought a ton of my cranks, has supported my business a lot, and also does his own painting. Braden, I need to buy some from you if you still have stuff for sale. This or that, free tackle for life or free supplies to make your own baits for life. So because life gets hectic, I would honestly have to go free tackle for life, because the only thing is in the winter, because I really do enjoy painting like as therapy, but as crazy as stuff gets with work and kids and stuff, I think I'd rather just have everything plopped in front of me and I could just go fish. Sorry.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. I would say for me, it would come down to, is it free tackle from any manufacturer, any brand, or is it one brand? If it's one brand, I'm making my own. If it's from anywhere, anytime, that's tough.
That's hard to. Nice. Dizzle, how about you? Dizzle, like, I throw jigs. I want unlimited jigs.
So I like the idea of just having whatever I needed whenever I needed it. But I also like the idea of being able to change up something outside of perhaps what, is actually made. So if they don't, for whatever reason, have a black and blue jig head or a black and blue,
or making an old Johnny trailer. White and red jig.
Yeah, exactly. So that would give me I'm going with Make It. I would go with the Make It. Yeah, just because I think that would be fun to be able to do whatever I wanted and not be handcuffed by the whatever's made,
I get it. Josh B, big swimming / glide bait or drop shot. Ugh. I'm not confident with either. I've definitely caught way more fish on a drop shot. I just hate fishing it. Despise it, to be honest. I'll go drop shot.
Yeah, I would say for me, I have probably I definitely have more fish catches on a drop shot. I will say a glide bait is something that I'm going to start to sneak into my tactics more often. But man, like, I catch a lot of fish on a drop shot doing something kind of unique that actually Brian Schmidt won on the Mississippi River this year on the Elite Series, doing the exact same thing. And that's drop shotting in like 3 foot of water on weed edges, on eelgrass edges. Kind of a killer.
Is he the missile baits guy? Is that Brian Schmidt?
Yep, it sure is. Yep. So he was Carolina rigging too, a baby destroyer by missile. But
that's
lot
a
of his
under the radar bait, to be honest. Do I have any?
I just don't like rigging drop shots. That's the worst.
Yeah, or when you break them off, it takes 17 hours to retie.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the how much they get tangled up outside of your regular spinning combos. For me, they always get tangled up in everything else. But I feel like drop shot just has so many more components that are getting tangled up in all the other poles that I have with me. And I feel like the big swim and glide baits, you're going to see that strike a lot more often than what you would with a drop shot. And I think that's just so fun. Like seeing that blow up or seeing a fish swim up and swipe at it and things like that. So I'm going big swim and glide.
Yeah. That is fun. Yeah, there's been a couple days. I am by no means good with them at all, but there's been a couple days Randy and I were fishing them, and I remember like the first successful day, like I've thrown them a lot and had zero follows, zero anything. But the first day that Randy and I were out throwing one, and I had like probably a dozen follows of like probably a 2.5 pound was the smallest, multiple 4 or 5s.
Mm-hmm.
It was insane. It was definitely enlightening. That was like the aha moment. Still didn't give me enough like confidence to throw them all the time, but I was like, okay, I definitely get that. It's kind of like when you get that musky follow, you know, it's like, okay, I can understand the draw. So this is the Missile Baits Mini Destroyer. And this is one that I think does go under the radar. A lot of people talk about like a brush hog, a baby brush hog. This is about, I don't know, 4 inches is all, but a lot of it's these kind of curly tails down here. Also reminds me of the Man Bear Pig from Reaction Innovations. If you guys haven't thrown those, another cool kind of like creature bait, not too big. It's got these like curlies in back. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's kind of a cool bait. I feel like people don't talk about or overlook a lot.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's you know, the D-bomb's a killer, but that thing's got a special place too. It's a great Carolina rig bait. Anywhere you'd put a brush hog for sure. It's very similar concept. I feel like the ribbing, the ribbing that's in that body is going to trap air bubbles and make it suspend longer. So I feel like that maybe offers it. It lends itself a little bit better for Carolina rigging situations, maybe more than a brush hog would.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that. Usama Khan, again, winner tonight. This or that, swim jig or finesse jig? That's tough. So I will say that like my jig fishing before Randy, like I would flip and pitch a jig a little bit, but as a bank angler, I would honestly default to a Texas rig. So like when it came to jigs, for sure, my confidence jig was a swim jig. Like that was really the only jig that I fished consistently until Randy whooped my butt multiple outings with the finesse jig and was like, you should be throwing this. Hey, you want to catch fish? You should throw this. Debo, have you caught any fish yet? I've caught 10. I'm throwing a finesse jig. And enough rubbing it in that I really started throwing them. And now I would honestly say with like, especially with the chatterbait, you know, coming up in popularity and stuff, I honestly throw a chatterbait. I would say kind of more where I would throw a swim jig, and the finesse jig has kind of taken its place as my jig. But that's a tough one. How about you guys?
I'm taking a swim jig in this one, I think.
Okay.
I love throwing swim jigs. That's kind of like if I'm not throwing a jig, if I'm working shallow or deep, it could be a deep grass bed or something. That's probably my number one search tool around this area is actually a swim jig. So I'm going swim jig.
Okay.
Hands down, I'm going finesse because I can swim a finesse.
No. Jig. I never would have guessed it, Randy. You are an absolute demon with a finesse jig in your hand.
Hey.
Bassless Chap, let's go old school. This is a fun one. Devil horse or torpedo? So I honestly never threw a devil horse. That was nothing that Dad and I ever threw. I think it's a big, like, kind of Florida Southern thing. A little mini baby torpedo. I don't know if I still have. I'm going to say torpedo. I'll see if I have my old one here. Randy, go ahead. Or Brennan, whichever.
Brennan, go ahead. I honestly, right. I don't know the difference. I'm not.
I don't have any experience with either one, so I have no right to even answer this, but I'm going to. I would take the devil's horse on this. I know that the devil's horse is a really good bait for pre-spawn topwater. Like Debo said, down in Florida in the South, but specifically Florida, the devil's horse is thrown quite a bit. It's a way to draw a reaction bite with topwater when they won't eat like anything else. So it's like a topwater stick bait with props on it, I believe.
Yeah, so this is the head and tiny torpedo. Yeah, and you're exactly right, Brennan. It's like a if you imagine like a straight jerk bait with two of these little propellers on each end, and it's made to, yeah, like Brennan was saying, throw it up shallow, spawn grass and stuff. You can throw them here, but you throw it up and it's a bigger, like maybe 4-inch bait. I don't know how big they are, but and you rip it and it goes and throws a big disturbance, and it's just those fish that are up shallow spawning. It's not a hunger bite. It's not a intriguing bite. It's a I'm pissed, get away from me bite, and they'll just come up and kind of smack it.
Yeah, from what I understand about that bite, the devil source is like it's its own thing. Like that's not a time frame, at least to my knowledge, that's not a time frame that you could go out and probably catch them very good on like a spook or another walking bait. That devil source is like its own bite that's going on. And I know it's a way to just completely unleash them when you thought everything was quiet,
Yeah. Yeah, just get them all stirred up. Now, one that I have thrown a bunch, and you can see this is, again, one of those that was a chrome and then got rubbed off from the hooks. But this is just a tiny torpedo. So as a bank angler growing up, I know Paul over on the Burley show is a big fan of this too. But it's kind of the same thing. You can just, back in the day, it was like a real tiny finesse plopper. Like you can just slow roll it. It's got this little blade back here that just barely. But I would fish it like a popper too, just kind of plop, plop, plop. So
how'd that go again?
That'd be my pick. What's that?
How'd that go?
Plop, 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 plop.
Okay.
Now, if you want to talk, I used to have a number of these. This is the last one. And this one, at some point in time, I thought trying bigger hooks. This is a 2-aught, which is stupid as hell. It didn't work.
Now
I don't know how young I was when I did that, but yeah. But these are the old like head and pop R, like old school baby bass poppers. I wish I still had all of them.
Those are legit.
Yeah. Dad and I used to throw those a bunch. Here's another fun one. Back when Bill Dance had his own signature lures in the old Excaliburs, I've kind of shown these, but another Topwater spitting image has a knock and the feet in it. Kind of cool.
Maybe a little headphone.
Was that loud?
Warning. That was painfully loud.
My bad.
I
I just lost 100 subscribers.
859, Justin Cook, this or that, Luz or Shimano baitcaster. Just switching gears a smidge, kind of same boat, different position in there.
What time was this?
8:59 from Justin Cook. This or that.
My gosh. 859, Luz or Shimano? That's interesting. I also had let's see. Okay, Luz or Shimano. There we go. Justin. Yeah, that's a tough one. Like I think Luz gets a lot of smack. There's a lot of these purists out there, I feel like, that have never even used it and are just I would only throw Shimano type thing, but I think Luz does make good bait casters. Certain ones I've really liked. Shimano hands down has the smoothest bait casters on the market, I think, and I'm kind of even a Daiwa fanboy. But I think Shimano really has it dialed in for, feeling tight, put together, smooth. Like you said, the Corrado is a really hard reel just to beat for overall use. Corrado K200, right. You can do anything with it. So I'd probably have to say Shimano, but don't write that off as Luz sucks. Luz has a bunch of good bait casters. I've got some, so.
I too would go Shimano on that one. They're Corrados, the old school Corrados, if you can get those still. I've still got a couple of those old 100 150s, the green ones. It was the second gen, I think, is the ones that I have, but like they're still some of my best.
Was that after the Bantam? The E's, the 200 or 100 E's?
Yeah, it would be. Yep. And I've got a couple of those. And like those are like 20 years old or something close to that, and they're still probably some of my better reels. The Metaniums are great. If you want to spend a little bit more money, the Metanium is a fantastic reel. I have an Antares. I wouldn't advise anybody going and spending money on an Antares, but like they're cool, so I got one.
That's the G. Never mind. This is a little bit later. This was actually, people talk crap about this one. This was the first. Yeah, this is the G. So this is the first Shimano baitcaster back in the day for that Corrado line that they stopped being made in Japan. and these were made in I forget what, but I've even talked to real guys. Adam, I don't know if you're on Malaysia. That's where they started making the G series, and I think the regular Curados, like the E's, turned into the what's the white one? The white Shimano Chronarch. Yeah. So the green Japan made Curados actually turned into the Chronarch line, and they came out with that new line that was the G that was then made in Malaysia. So there's talk about that, but yeah, you pull them apart, and it's
honestly, if I could trade all of my Shimanos that I have right now for that one that you just held up, I would do that. Like I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great reel. I used that for frogging last year. Actually, that day where I caught like 50 frogfish was on that one right there. I mean, that's a little bit newer. I think the E series came out, and I want to say like 2003. Somebody can fact check me on that. But the G, I don't remember when the G came out, but yeah, still awesome little reels.
For sure.
Somebody asked earlier, Gator, TFO or Dobbins? That's a hard one, man. I actually like both a lot. Fishing Fix says Dobbins. How about you guys? Have you used Dobbins and TFO?
I've used the Dobbins, Debo. Thanks, buddy. Never
Debo or Debo. Dizzle has stolen Debo's stuff from time to time. It's all right.
I like both of these brands. I don't have nearly as I own a fair amount of Dobbins. I'm like pure Dobbins and G Loomis, but I like Dobbins for particular actions. I think that they have their actions dialed in. They have like such a broad range of like very particular matched actions for techniques that I really like and think that they have that figured out. Temple Fork I haven't used a ton of, but I didn't have a bad experience with them. Actually, Ben Nowak up in Michigan, I used a couple of his for 3-4 days and was pretty impressed. So I think they're both good products.
Yeah, Ben, I completely forgot about Ben. He was another one that he had some older stuff that I watched him making, but yeah, he used a bunch of the TFO. Good folks. We had Ross on quite some time ago from TFO, and just a good all around company of like, hey, we're just, into fish and have fun and make the best thing we can. And
really cool. Good people behind that brand. I do know that. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. And then Dobbins, I don't know how much I've pimped that live. I don't know that I can pimp it anymore, but go look at Hellabass's live with Gary Dobbins. And that was pretty eye-opening for me. Like it made me, after listening to that, want to go buy some Dobbins rods because Gary just seems like such a cool, like open dude.
Yeah.
He said,
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know he said that, obviously he could fish $500 Dobbins rods for his whole lineup. And he likes the Champion XP, which is like the $200, kind of the mid-range rod. So I thought that was pretty cool too. That was kind of his baby.
Absolutely. Yeah. They just do a really good job with their actions. I think that's the biggest thing. I think the componentry on the rods is just standard stuff. Like you maybe just were trying to mention, like they could build them more expensive, but they're just going to get you a good product with the right actions and it's going to hold up. And for most people, that's all you can ask for. When it comes to like sensitivity and like feel stuff, like dragging jigs, I do like my Loomises for stuff like that. But as far as actions go, I don't know that there's anybody doing it better than Dobbins right now in rods, in my opinion.
Let's see what else. Let's do a couple more questions. We'll get out of here. Brendan, I know you've been working on the house all day. I appreciate you. So I don't know if you really have stuff that you talk about in your, your personal kind of fishing, if you want anybody to follow you or where can people find you or, do it, of course, what's the story with your followings and what have you?
Yeah. So Do It and I are both on Instagram. That's probably the best place to see what's going on. Latest and greatest from Do It right now. We're really active on social media. So even if you're not sold on the whole bait making thing and you just want to snoop around and keep your eye on stuff, go follow Do It on Instagram. We'll have some products launching here in March. So coming up here pretty soon, we're going to have a couple products that we're going to unveil, and then the real heat, the real breath will be released at ICAST in July. So
sorry, Brennan, not trying to steal your talk, but I really appreciate that comment. Old school Bill Dance lure in the Excalibur, the swimming image. Yes, sir. Bait nerds unite.
Yeah.
Do It has does have definitely has stepped up the game, I think, on Instagram and stuff, with pictures and sharing other people that use the Do It stuff, or people catching stuff on Do It. I really enjoy seeing that because it is a totally different feeling. Going out and catching a fish is cool, but like going out and catching something on something that you created from nothing is really, really neat.
No doubt. Yeah, and I guess as far as me, I don't really have anything going on right now. It's wintertime. Always preparing for open water. I guess that's the one fun thing about this time of the year is like you're just tunnel vision on getting back out there, and it's kind of tough on the wallet because I'm online shopping, buying tackle nonstop. So that's part of the game, I guess. But no, I'm super pumped for spring. Going to be a busy tournament season this year, and going to be doing quite a bit of traveling. Come May is when things really kick off, and then just fishing, lots of fishing.
I love it. Tom Gross, so internal joke here. Tell this or that. Telling Randy to shut up or loosening his drag. So the story behind this is, Brennan, I tell Randy to shut up all the time just because he's a bully, but he also accuses me 9 times out of 10 when we go out fishing that I've somehow loosened his drag, and I've never touched him.
So you get accused of sabotage every time you go fishing?
Every time, yes.
Okay.
We know who the real bully is here.
Yeah, it's you.
Halo. No. Do I seem like a bully? Not at all.
Yeah.
Basilisk Chap. Halo. I've got a couple of theirs relatively new. I got one of the black and yellow Rave, I think is what it was, from Walmart. Decent stick for moving baits. Not the most sensitive, but it had a good bend to it. Roger Merritt, this made me think of that too. He said Dobbins for me. The Dobbins Fury, if you're a beginner, used to be at $99. Now the Maverick is the $99 rod. But the Fury, like if you're looking to get into, kind of a little bit higher / budget rod, $120 is an awesome rod. But yeah, I've only messed around with a couple of the Halos. I have the green one that I like, the KS2, I want to say it's called. Was a solid stick.
I've never fished a Halo. I don't have any insight on that one.
Debo, the question was asked from Kyle. I don't know how to say his last name. 917. Your tackle warehouse code.
I don't have a tackle warehouse code, so I linked it below. I have a link. I don't have like a percentage off, if that's what you're looking for. I do have a link, so if anybody that uses the links, a little portion of that comes back to me. So I appreciate anybody that uses that. If not, no worries. If you find it cheaper at Omnia, use Punch's code, Hellabass, Serious Angler, any of those guys. If you go over to American Legacy, make sure you use Gramps' code. I like to spread the love. If you don't like Tackle Warehouse or whatever, there's other places, but if you do, consider using that link. Let's see. I did have one other question I saw down here, and it skipped, or back here, I guess. Maybe it wasn't that good.
Most recent, Andy Leonard 918. This is right up my alley. The St. Croix Bass X or the Mojo Bass. For me,
I like the Bass X. I like that new Bass X spinning.
I really dig my new Bass X. I for the longest time, my Mojo Basses, like I would hang them up on the wall at night and read them a bedtime story, the whole nine. They were my favorites. But I think the Bass X is kind of taken over on that case or that situation.
I've never owned a Mojo Bass, but I think I have 2 Bass X's. I guess I don't think anything poorly of the Bass X's, but those Mojo Basses in the rods that I fished anyways, I thought that they were pretty solid. I was actually pretty impressed. I got a buddy that has a jerkbait rod in the Mojo Bass series, and that thing's pretty good. Like
Randy had that one too.
That quality of a jerkbait rod for that price point, like you'd be hard to find another one like that.
Yeah, Debo, I beat you in that one tournament or challenge that we had that one day.
Yes, you did. You beat me that day. All right, listen, folks, we're getting out of here. Of course, every Saturday night we're going live. Special shout out to Brennan. Thanks so much for finally getting on, man. Sorry we hadn't had you on earlier. I thought I did. So
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be back again next Saturday. Love you all. Thanks for watching. Until next live.